Hello and welcome to another one in our series of Every Superhero Needs a Sidekick, where we as business managers or owners are looking to improve upon our own superhero powers by utilising sidekicks, i.e. apps, to help us be more efficient in what we do. Today we have Jamie from the great team at Fathom with us. Morning, Jamie.
Morning, Stephen. Happy to be here.
Fathom sits right at the very beginning of our app stack. Utilising all of that quality data that we've got into our cloud accounting packages like Xero from other areas and other apps that we've used, and brings it all together in a beautifully graphical way for us to help our clients interpret their numbers and for them to mean a bit more. So Jamie, let's talk about you to start off with. Who are you? How long have you been at Fathom, and what do you like doing?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jamie Mansfield, and I've been at Fathom for 3 months now, so pretty new to the team. Before that, I was working still in account management, but for Xero for 3.5 years. So obviously being at Xero, I knew of Fathom and I decided to join the team here as well. So yeah, going really great so far. And some of the things I enjoy are going to the cinema, golf as well. Golf is pretty good because it's a pretty good social distancing sport. So that's a good one. And yeah, no, just relaxing with some friends really.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you why you left Xero, but that might get our viewing ratings a little bit higher. Let's talk about Fathom then. What is
Fathom? So Fathom is an analytics, forecasting and reporting tool that allows you to get deeper insights into what's going on in a company's numbers and also performances as well. So from management reports to forecasting into the future, you can have all that detail in front of you, displayed nice and presented great for your clients.
Amazing. The way I've seen it is Xero's got a nice reporting feature built into it, but at the end of the day, they are just a table of numbers. And Fathom goes into a lot more than that. I won't steal your thunder here, but I'm really excited to be able to share some of this on today's one. So why do we need that? Why is a sheet of numbers no longer really any use to anyone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think with what businesses and advisors could be doing really to kind of future-proof their business, it's a lot more in demand now compared to where it was a few years ago, probably because of the pandemic and certain situations. But where it's important is it really helps you forecast into the future to say, okay, these are my actuals, but where are we going to be if we continue on this route in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and so on. So Fathom can go 3 years into the future. So by looking at that, that's going to help you have more what-if scenario planning conversations with your clients, and it helps them fuel advisory conversations as well if you do spend those monthly and quarterly meetings with your clients as well. And the analysis section allows you to kind of walk through this all smoothly and seamlessly, so non-financial and accounting professionals can understand it as well.
Great. I think that's really key. We've got a lot of people that we work with that they bring us in because they need their numbers looked after, but at the end of the day, a sheet of numbers isn't what they understand. They need some other way to interpret that data. And some of that is a conversation that we have with them, but others is turning numbers into pictures. And I don't want to make it sound oversimplified, but you can very quickly understand what a picture is trying to tell you when you've got your numbers laid out on a graph, for example. Yeah, Fathom does that really well for us. What is it about Fathom? How does Fathom do what it does? I mean, you mentioned forecasting. What makes it tick?
Yeah, so what makes Fathom tick? It's originally a cloud tool, like I mentioned earlier, and really it's fueled by the data that comes from the cloud accounting systems such as QuickBooks and Xero. You can integrate those in. If it's not from there, it can also be uploaded manually via Excel as well. So that's kind of where it gets the information from, what makes it tick. And we've got cloud technology in there that's helping it put all the figures together. But for forecasting, which I'll show you in a second, we've got certain settings like value rules and timing profiles that help you dictate, how are we getting from an actual to a particular point in the forecast, but also, when that's going to happen as well. So that's just a couple examples on how it ticks.
Okay, useful to know. I've seen a lot of forecasting tools out there, and some of them are only as good as the data that already exists. Some are using averages, some are using machine learning and AI. And I think that's where Fathom is at the moment. in terms of looking at your data and trying to work out what are your usual normal behaviors and where is this going. Yeah, let's see a demo in action. We've got analytics and we've got forecasting. Have you got anywhere you're going to start in particular?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll show you reports if that's okay. So I can show you the report section first. Excellent. So what we've got here is the main landing grid. So this is where you'll see all your clients. It's detailed here where it's getting the source data from. So here it's Excel. This is where you'd see a Xero or QuickBooks logo as well. It's worth pointing out that we do offer benchmarking and consolidated reports as well. So if you wanted to create a benchmark or a consolidated group, you can do that by adding the company here in the add section. To start off, you can select one of those, and that's how you really get started. Yep, so what I will do is I will show you the report section. So essentially you've got 3 sections to reports. You've got templates, you've got the main report itself, and you've got some scheduled reports you've got down here as well. So first thing I'll show you is the predefined reports. So this is reports that Fathom's created for you. So say you wanted to pick up a report really quickly. You've got our monthly performance report there as well, filled with all the metrics and indicators you'd like to see in a report like that. And then once that's created, you can take things in and take things out, put things in, and just tweak it till you get the exact kind of report that you'd like. So if you're not sure where to start, this is a good starting point, and you can create it from there as well. The customs conceptually works exactly the same, except you can create from scratch as well. So you can save a template there. And once you've created a template, it comes over into the draft section where you can edit it and look at all the ones that haven't been published. The publish section, as kind of the name suggests, that's where a report goes when it's completed. So if you're happy for the client to see it, you can publish that and it will go into this section here as well. What we've also got, just before I show you an actual report, is the scheduled report option. So what that allows you to do is Fathom will update the report on a monthly basis when the new actuals come in from Excel or Xero or wherever. And then it'll create that report. And if you like, it can send an email to your client to say that that report's been created as well. So if you're someone who creates it and then you export it to a PDF and then you put it in an email, send it to a client, you do that for 50 clients, you've just automated that process there for you as well. What I'll show you as well is what a report looks like when it's finished, and then I'll show you how you can edit it and where the customization comes in as well. So you've got a report here. I'll just go through this really quickly. You've just got an executive summary with some of the important points here. Go down. This is just a basic layout of the KPI results and tables. We'll drill down into this in a little bit more detail in a second. But essentially, this is what a PDF version looks like. Yeah. And what we'll do is we'll go into the June report. Yep. So what we've got here is you do have some white labeling elements to it. For example, you can put a background of an image as a header back there. So you can have little images that you can include in there. You can play around with the text and the alignments and the color, for example. And you can also include a logo. So this is added in settings, and you've got different logos for different companies you can put in there as well. Excellent. So if we scroll down, then we've got the executive summary. So you can add this in automatically. So there's drag and drops options on the left. And this is where you can add different parts of the reports into here. So for example, if we go to the left, we've got the contents of what I've got here. And then we can add texts, we can add observations like we've got here. Here's the executive summary. So we can add a lot of that in automatically to save on manual work. We've also got some thresholds set. So if a particular metric that's important to your client falls below a certain amount, it's indicated here by a thumbs up or down. And pretty much anything in the reports is customizable. So wherever you see the option to edit it, you can edit it further as well. Yep, Stephen, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, by the way?
No, it's useful to add your own commentary into the opening remarks. Otherwise, this is potentially an automated report that doesn't look like any care has been added in there. When we create these, we like to add that commentary into that top section that you're just working on there, just to show that this is a report that we've looked at and given the overview of. If you're looking for any quick takeaways right at the very start before you read through all the pages. But the other thing that I want to add here is the kind of like the white labeling, the branding that you add right at the very top. When we've worked with our clients, we've made this a version of all of their colors and branding, so that when they use this report internally with their team managers, or even externally with external parties and investors, this really looks like it's a pack that's care has been taken over its production and shared with people with that in mind. So it really is their own, and they own the numbers that go with it as well. So yeah, it's great that we can white label that and make it look like theirs.
Yeah, exactly that. And all of that helps the client experience when you're making things a little bit more bespoke to them, even if it is just something like some images. But yeah, the white labeling features is a great feature as well. Excellent. And then what we can also add in is just some quick glances at certain other important metrics. So for example, we've got cash flow here. Once again, we can kind of customize this as we go as well, change certain colors as well, display rounding figures, and we can change the key number too. Yep. And then we come to the KPI table as well. So if you wanted to add any kind of tables in here, on the left, you've got the tables and financials section. So you can filter these monthly, quarterly, or yearly. But as well as the financials, you can also put KPIs and forecasting and any kind of other settings you want to change there as well. But if we look at the KPI table itself, you see we've got the KPIs that we've selected in settings that we want to have perspective on. So we can see if it's performed as how we like, where the increase or decrease is. And also one feature you can set up is alerts. So you can tell from a glance what hasn't had the desired outcome. And on the right here, you've got kind of the importance and the medium. But what this is done as well is this is actually in a benchmarking group. So benchmarking group is when you can put a lot of your different entities into a particular group and you can start to compare them towards each other. For example, if you want to put all of your coffee clients into a benchmark group, you can see who comes first in terms of revenue, gross profit, EBITDA, and so on. And then you can start comparing each one, saying, okay, well, company one is doing much better than company two. But we'll go into this in a bit more detail and in a moment in terms of what learnings you can get from a benchmarking group. But here it's showing you where in the top 100% this ranks. So you see this is the bottom 20% of the group and so on. So just a little indication in terms of where this company sits in the benchmarking. What you can also do as well, if you scroll down, you've got the alerts highlighted there. And you've got the KPI table here. So what you can do is see all the KPIs that are and aren't on target. And you can rate them by a certain display feature. So if we go perspective, see what this has done is this changed all the KPIs to essentially a category. So we can see that activity is okay, efficiency is okay, but the sales and profitability KPIs are not on track. So this has given us an indication of where we need to focus on in terms of what actions can be brought out from this to get a higher performance. Stephen, did you have anything you wanted to ask or add into that?
Yeah, I've just noticed on there you had the number of staff in the HR section. Mm-hmm. That's obviously not a number that Fathom's going to pull from something like Xero. So have we got an element of non-financial data input here as well as financial data?
Yeah, exactly that. So you can have financial and non-financial data and create analytics around that. What you can do is you can add that in settings. So I'll just show you real quickly. Give me 2 seconds. Yep, so what you can do is if you go to the section 1 in settings, you've got non-financials here. I haven't got this set up on this company because it's something that I've already set up for training purposes. But what you can do is you can just download an Excel format of what you want to import the non-financials in as. import that, and then you're good to go. But yeah, you can have non-financials in here as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, if we go back to this report, what you can also add in here is graphs as well. So you've got your text here for just free writing, a couple of columns, observations, and then you can add charts in. So you essentially can add a chart for any kind of metrics that you've got going at the moment. So you see here, you've got a pie chart. I'll scroll down here. What we've got on this line chart as well is we've got our actual here, but you can also do graphs on forecasted figures. So we've got a forecast coming in here, and I've also got another scenario forecast coming in here. So maybe something's happening in February 2021. If we go to here, we can filter this a little bit more. So if we go to strong demand, we can add another one in there as well. So we can also change that to next financial year. Add a custom range in there as well. So say if we wanted to, let's look back a few months there, but let's look to the future. Is this going to pick up eventually? We can just have what if conversations there. So maybe something's expected to happen at this point, but we can run different scenarios and forecasts in order to predict where we can get back up there as well. Yep, we've got a pie chart here we can add in. We've also got this year versus last year. And this is a good example of benchmarking that I mentioned earlier as well. You see, we've got all different coffee companies together, and this is just reporting each dot is a company, and we've broken it down by north, south, east, and west as well. So if you've got a group of clients that are in one industry, this is particularly good for comparing, the performance of one business and another. Is there any kind of learnings that we can take from here, and once again help those advisory conversations. Stuff. Then we come to profitability, when we can add kind of any kind of top 10 expenses or anything like that in there as well. We can also filter this down to liabilities and any other kind of metrics we can have. Essentially, you've got the option to change most things to quarterly and yearly within Fathom as well. And then we've got the cash analysis tool as well. So what this is a cash waterfall, just showing you where the money's going. If it's in the green, that's coming in revenue, cost of sales. So really where this is powerful is if you look at this and you can see anywhere if something doesn't really match up. You'd expect most of your cash spent to go in cost of sales and expenses. And this is just giving you a bit of a waterfall in terms of where the money's going as well.
The cash graph is really quite a good graph for me to use with clients. I've got a set of clients that understand bank balances, and during a month has a bank balance gone up or down, and we know that bank balance isn't the only metric you should be looking at when you're looking at the health of your business. And some months you could have created a lot of profit, but that hasn't materialized into cash yet because you're waiting for people to pay you. And so that cash waterfall really does show what the P&L would bring in should that have turned into cash, and then how your balance sheet performance might mean that hasn't turned into cash yet, to kind of explain how we had a good month, but if the bank balance hasn't moved, that kind of question. So yeah, I find that quite valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. What Fathom's also good, it's telling you how you got to a certain point as well, and that can also help in terms of planning for the future too. Yep. And then when we come to P&L, so essentially this is really customizable. So you can see here that I've got it started in February, but we've got this month versus budget versus last month and versus same month last year as well. Once again, it's fully customizable, so we can go quarter or yearly. And we can change it once we actually put it in there. So if we wanted to change this to a balance sheet or a cash flow statement as well, for example, we can change that. And you see, we've got some other columns here. So if I wanted to add some columns, I can essentially pick from any of these that we see. So we've got budget this month, last month. Once again, if you changed it to quarter or yearly, you'd get those options for last year as well. We've got variance and a few other options as well. So let's go back. And you can also choose to have this in the detailed or the summarized version as well, depending on how you'd like to deliver this to your clients. Yeah, did we have any questions on that, by the way?
No.
No, brilliant, great stuff. Yeah. One other little quick tip as well. You've got layouts here on the left as well. So say if you just want some inspiration to put particular layouts of graphs and how to present things, you can do that as well. Essentially similar to predefined templates that you've got when you started this, but just on a smaller scale to drop in to the report where you'd like. So you've got that there too. So scroll down. Essentially, that is the reports function. Do you have any questions on that? Anything else you wanted to go through?
So just whilst I give you some time to switch over onto the next chapter, but we've also found we use a balance sheet on this with our reporting, which is quite useful. The balance sheet allows us to show that in two different formats, the assets at the top half with liabilities and capital as the second half, or the more traditional UK format, which is assets minus liabilities at the top and then capital at the bottom. Both of those are really helpful to use, especially when you've got investors from all over the world these days. If they're more used to seeing part of their portfolio in a particular way, you can customize the pack to suit them as individuals, as well as the general board that you might be reporting to. Bringing in the non-financial data is really handy again. It's for more customizable graphs, or even creating formulas to show the relationship between financial data and non-financial data. I'll give you an example. We've got a client that measures ticket sales to their events, and we look at the average ticket price per head. And obviously we can't do that without the revenue figure or without the number of people. And so using those two together, we can create a metric that shows whether or not their average selling ticket price is on target or not. It gives them the opportunity to see if there's areas where they can discount tickets to get more people to come to their events, because there's a knock-on effect with the larger headcounts. And there's all kinds of benefits for doing things like that. We've got a business in the automotive industry, and they're looking at the revenue per car that they own. Really is a lot of metrics there that we can help pull out and understand a bit more about the business. And if we can wind back far enough and find out what those key KPIs are right at the very start of your operation, we can monitor those and report those so that they turn into tomorrow's numbers, and make sure that they're staying on track too.
Yeah, absolutely that. What I'll do next, that's actually a good segue into the next point that I was going to bring up, which has some non-financial data in it through drivers. So what I'll show you now is the forecast section. So you can get into forecast quite easily. You just go to one of the companies and click forecast. First thing you'll see is this screen. So I'll quickly take you through this screen in about 30 seconds. Essentially, this is how to start a forecast. You can do it by one of three ways. So most people, including definitely accountants and any kind of finance professionals, would choose the custom forecast. This is because it just gives you the most flexibility in the configurations. So the 4 steps here, we can add different, somewhat of broad brush rules to these, instead of doing it one by one. This is usually the most popular options for accountants, like I said. Then you've got the quick start forecast. So this is good if you really want to get a forecast up and in front of a client then and there. Just takes a couple of minutes. You don't get any of the configurations, but it's quite nice in a BD context if you wanted to whip something up for a client really quickly and you didn't want to dedicate too much time to it. And then you've got link to budget, which is exactly the same as the custom forecast, except it will default all of these to link to budget where it can, really. And you still get a bit of the configuration.
Can I just ask, where would it have got the budget from?
You would have imported it if it was an Excel-based company, and if it was a QuickBooks or Xero, it should have linked to that.
Great. So just back in the reporting section in settings, we're able to bring in our actuals, but it can bring in our budgets as well from reports that we're already perhaps using.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Good stuff. And then once you choose one of those options, you'll get something like this. So you've got the main forecast grid here, and the forecasting section is split up into 4 sections. the forecast, the business roadmap, the micro forecasts and scenarios. But seeing as I'm on the main grid, I'll walk you through this. So we've got the P&L, something that will look familiar to a lot of the viewers. And say if we wanted to customize any of this in any way, really what underpins the forecast is including two things. One is value rules and the other is timing profiles. So the value rules, for example, this underpins exactly, how have we got an actual to a particular forecasted number in the future? What's the thought process that went through when we went through that. So we can see that we've got one set up here. So I'll just drill down into this. So like I said, you can apply this more broadly when you go through the setup process. But essentially, we've got 5 different value rules. So smart prediction essentially just looks at the last 12 months and creates an average and creates it from there. And that's how it forecasts. Or you can do a linear regression where essentially it's creating a line of best fit going into the future based on what's happened in the past. But you can change this to 12 or 24 months as well. Set that back to average. And then what we've got the option to do as well is link to previous periods. So this is just using the figures from the past, and you can add in or increase or decrease as well on a monthly basis. So for example, we think it's going to be going as the same as last year, but at a bit of an increased rate. Then we've got constant or growing, where if it's just a flat rate, so for example, you expect a bill for Spotify to be just £10 a month every month, you can put that in, or you can add a growing rule to that as well. Then formulas and drivers. Drivers I'll talk about in a moment because we haven't just got to that yet. It's coming up in a second. But formulas is giving you a little bit more flexibility in terms of, what can I use to get me there. So a certain formula that will let you predict into the future. And then we've got link to budget, which, as the name suggests, essentially just taking the values from your budget there, and that's managed in settings. So that's the value rules in terms of how we get there. And then there's the timing profiles. So the timing profiles, we've got one set up for this one. If we go into this, essentially this is dictating when this is going to turn into cash and hit the balance sheet. So let's say we get paid the same on any given month. We get everything for the service in 1 month. I've got it set up as paid for 100% same month, but let's say that's not realistic. Let's say he puts in 25% on the same month, and then does another 25%, another 25% the month after that. But let's say he's given me a deposit for a certain job as well. We can also add previous months in there too. So let's put 25, and that's how I'm going to get paid. So it's just a little bit of a flexibility in terms of when the money's going to hit the cash. Excellent. And then we come to the balance sheet as well, something that will look familiar. So really that we just need to, what we should go through here is you can add in any kind of journals that you want to move money around, or schedules to manage and have flexibility with repayment terms as well. Excellent. And then we come to the drivers. So yeah, this is non-financial data that you can use, somewhat like operational data, to drive your forecasts in different ways as well. So for example, in this coffee company, I've got units sold, regardless of if they're tea, coffee, water, what have you, just sold in cups. And then we've got headcount by employee, which we saw earlier, and a few other different interest rates accounts there as well. You can add a driver in here. So let's say I have an average. I get some information and I'm expecting it to be about 500 every month. No category. We can choose what kind of unit of measure there, and aggregation type as well. So we just choose number and create, and we can create different drivers. We're going from there as well. Sorry, Stephen, did you have a question there?
I think this is really great where it comes to looking at your ratios. If you're thinking about bringing in that extra head, or how many clients a particular person can look after, perhaps, adding in these drivers is really useful because you can start to see where that metric changes. Does it change when you bring in a new person? And how much do your KPIs change as a result? So be able to forecast those plans in here is really useful to be able to do that.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, exactly that. And that's really drivers. And then we can go to the main cash flow grid as well. So this is static by nature because it's made up of everything else that's going on in the other sections. So this is going to be your cash flow statement as well. So you've got all the information you might need there. Once again, you can change it to monthly, quarterly, yearly, and when it's rolling from to.
Can you show me, yeah, those on the side? So this is where forecasting really gets interesting for me. Once you've got a forecast in place, that's useful. You've got a target and you can see where you're going. But in the world of superheroes and their sidekicks, as we're looking at here, we've got this multiverse of what ifs, scenario planning and future telling and all sorts of things going on with the possibilities behind forecasting. So yeah, could you run us through the scenarios, the micro forecasts, and the other one, the roadmap?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll show you first is the roadmap. I'll go into micro forecast in a bit more detail in a second, because each one of these is a micro forecast that you see here. But essentially what the business roadmap is giving you is a bit of a bird's eye view into all the events that are going on in your business's life. For example, this coffee company's got a street party coming up, and they're also doing an SEO campaign. And there's different micro forecasts created for each one of these. So anything allocated to the SEO campaign is contained within this micro forecast here. So we've got a bird's eye view of all of those in the roadmap. And where this really comes into power, this can use, like you said, for what if scenarios. So if we expand what's down here, this is your quick metrics bar. So you've selected what metrics are most important to you. So you can see it at a glance. And let's say if we move a couple of things around, so we'll move the loan here. We can see that the numbers have changed in real time as well. So that can give you an indication as, okay, should we push something back? Can we afford to bring a certain particular thing forward as well? So you can have those conversations with your client, or you can just do it in terms of preparation for advisory meetings. And you've also got the graph here as well. So just a visual piece that can change as well as you move things around. Yep. And I'll just give you another example of what that looks like on a smaller scale. And we can add any metric in as well. So we've got all these options to add different metric in, including profitability, more in cash flow. So you do have some flexibility in terms of what your quick metrics can be. That's essentially the business roadmap. Before I go on to micro forecasts, anything you want to ask on that?
Yeah, please. So yeah, these look like they've got on-off switches by the sides of them. I'm making the assumption here that you can choose to have those switched on or switched off when it comes to reviewing your actual live forecast.
Yeah, exactly that. So what I was about to show you in the next section, scenarios, is how this can come into be really quite powerful as well. But yeah, once you're on the main grid, you can just turn these on and off, go back to the micro forecast section and just turn them back on again. Here as well. And if you wanted to add a micro forecast, I can show you how the sausage is made. You can just put something in like just put something there. And then we can start and go from there and setting it up. It does have templates just to save you a little bit of time if it is an asset, hiring a person, or a loan as well. And then you need to just add an account to it to see where that money is coming from. Add that to, for example. And then we can create a micro forecast from here. Excellent. And then we go to the scenario section. So scenarios are really powerful because they essentially allow you to run more than one forecast at the same time. So we've got our main forecast grid. Let's say I forecasted some strong demand for whatever reason in the coming months. If I select that, now what we've actually done is we've switched from the main forecast grid to a different forecast grid under different rules. So I've created a separate scenario, and I can tweak anything in here, and that will remain within this particular scenario as well. So you can see I've got different options for best case scenario and worst case scenario. And if you created a scenario from scratch, you've got all your micro forecasts there as well. So every single thing that's going on in your business's world, you can pick and choose which ones go in there depending on if they're relevant for that scenario. You can put them all in there and then just turn them off once they're in there. And essentially that's how you can have kind of more detailed conversations with your clients, just help reinforce any kind of future proofing that you want to go through. And then your clients and you can decide, you know, which next step forward is best for the client. Do you have anything you wanted to ask on that, Stephen?
No, I think that's been really, really helpful and insightful. There's a lot of businesses coming out of COVID as we speak at the time of this recording, where I feel like them wanting that crystal ball that shows them what the future looks like is going to give them that level of comfort. People not knowing if they can employ an extra pair of hands. I say it's a business that started during COVID because they found there was something that knew that they could do with their time, and the businesses had enough interest, they realize it's time to maybe take it more seriously, but they're not quite sure if they've got the finances to be able to cover that first head. As an example, forecasting would help show them exactly what that looked like or what their runway is before it becomes a problem, so they can make decisions as they go. I think there's a lot of power behind forecasting, and this tool is going to allow us to make quick decisions and quick what-if analysis to understand if we can do something or not. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jamie.
No, it's been my pleasure. Thanks very much for having me, Stephen.
So in summary, Fathom is a fantastic reporting and forecasting tool that allows you to track business performance at a glance and turn your accounting data into intelligence. So this is how FinanceBox use it. We do have a problem with the live accounting platforms like Xero and QuickBooks, where people can make changes in the past. And we believe that once we've reported and published a document, the past shouldn't change without very good reason. Fathom allows us with our different workflows to either connect it directly to Xero or connect it to another platform like Excel to create a static version of the numbers month in, month out. We obtain all the non-financial data for our clients and on the first of every month, and we import that into Fathom as well. And then we create them a very bespoke document that means something to their business in their sector and their goals and ambitions. So we combine everything together, and then that intel feeds their decisions and their decision making going into the next month. And the sooner that we can deliver information like that, the better. The product that we get from Fathom is a beautiful looking screen view or PDF, and it's not just a sheet of numbers. Therefore, the interest and engagement from our target audience, for want of a better phrase, is much more highly engaged with what we've done. And then we can help them plan scenarios to see the multiverse of what ifs and help make tomorrow's business decisions today based on the data that we have available. So we really, really like Fathom, and Jamie, thank you for sharing that with us again today. We're really looking forward to Fathom developing as well to see what else it can bring out into this particular part of the app stack. If anyone wants to know more, please feel free to drop me an email or comment on our website. And we'd be gladly to put you in touch with Jamie or to help you get Fathom set up ourselves. Please don't forget to like or share our video or subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's more videos like this happening with more apps in the app stack. So please don't miss out and sign up today and let us know that you'd like more content like this. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks, Jamie.
You're welcome. Thanks, Steve.